Hey guys, Chainer here again, and today we're gonna do some maths. Alright, so here's what we're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk about re-rolling your weapon, mainly when it comes down to the point where you're thinking, should I roll 10% damage or should I just re-roll the average damage up? There actually comes a point in time where rolling the average damage up is going to get you more DPS than actually rolling the 10% damage. If your weapon is on like the minimum, like lower, close to the, like in this instance, the lowest rolls you could get is 1318 to 1609. So if my weapon rolls were like 1350 to 1650, that range, you're gonna actually get more DPS from going and trying to roll the 1560 to 1940, which is extremely hard to get, but to get in the range of like 10 or 20 off of each of those numbers is not a stretch, and you know, it's close enough. It's only a very tiny amount of DPS at that point. Alright, so what I have on that side of my screen are the calculations that I wrote out. I think there are some sorry, there are some websites that kind of do this for you, but I don't know, they're all kind of I've always honestly done it myself. It's not that big of a deal. You just whip out a calculator, takes a minute. It's whatever. All right, so what it comes down to is just basic algebra. Algebra. Can't speak. Fuck it, I'm gonna leave it. Alright, so fact number one of the day, I can't say algebra. I just said it. Haha. Cool. Alright, so what we're gonna be looking for here is X. X is gonna be the maximum DPS when re-rolling average damage. And when I say average damage, I mean the stat that I'm currently displaying, the 1392 to 1743 holy damage. That would be average damage. When I say percent damage, I mean the 10% damage stat. Y is going to be attack speed, so that's just later on in the equation. It's just easier to compare DPS, even though for most classes it's not really DPS you're looking at, it's, you know, the weapon's total average damage, the min and max damage. But when comparing these numbers, it's just easier to use the DPS and find one solid number. Alright, so you're probably gonna have to maximize your screen, because the font, the text, it's a little small, but whatever. Okay, so A equals minimum damage, B equals max damage. So when I say that, I mean the white numbers, the white minimum and white maximum number underneath the DPS. So in this case, it would be the 1708 to 2328. Alright, and then C equals minimum damage bonus stat, and D equals maximum damage bonus stat. In this case, I mean the stat, the 1392 to 1743 holy damage that we're currently looking at in the enchant right now. And then E and F are going to be the maximum roll on the minimum damage bonus stat and the maximum damage, the maximum roll, maximum damage bonus stat, which is going to be on the right side over here. As you can see, the 1560 to 1940. Okay. So what we're going to do is take the minimum damage, remember the white number, that's A, and we're going to minus that by the minimum damage bonus stat that we currently have. What we want to see is the white number, the base damage of the weapon, plus the maximum damage on the minimum and the maximum damage on the maximum, if this is kind of making sense. So here's the equation. Don't worry, I'm gonna show an example. I know it's a little weird, but it's honestly, it's really easy. Now, something that's really easy is finding out what the DPS is gonna be if you roll 10% damage, because then you just take your DPS times 1.10. Alright, so now if you already have 6% damage on it and you're thinking about just rolling that 6% up to 10, then what you would do is take, you know, that take 100%, so 100 minus 6 would be 94, so that would be 0.94 or 94%. And then you just take your DPS times 0.94, and then you get that result, and then times that result by 1.10. And then you'll have the DPS if it was 10% instead of 6%. Okay, and I show this over here. And now here, we're gonna go over the Sunkeeper example. So we're gonna choose whether to roll the percent damage or roll up the average damage on this weapon. We'll do it together so you know we can get a better understanding. All right, so this Sunkeeper right here, its DPS is 2421.6, and the average damage is 1708 to 2328. Sorry. So we'll take a quick look at that again. As you can see, the numbers right there, the DPS and the average damage right under it, and then we got the attack speed. We'll use that later on. This is a fairly slow one-hander. Well, let's pull that back up. Okay. And now we got what our weapon has right now, which is 1392 to 1743 holy damage. We got 908 intelligence and 7% CDR. So now it comes down to, should we reroll that 7% CDR to 10% damage, or should we keep the CDR and just roll up the average damage? Because you know this got a damage roll that's not too high, but it's almost in the middle-ish. We'll see. And so now we're gonna go through option 1, which is to re-roll the average damage or the bonus damage. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the white numbers, the 1708 to 2328. I'll show you that again. That's underneath the DPS. And we're gonna minus each one of those. We're gonna take away the bonus roll for the min and the bonus roll for the max separately. Okay, so it's gonna be 1708 minus 1392. You see where I did that? Alright, so the 1708 right here minus the 1392 right there. And then the second thing you're gonna do is take the 2328 and minus the 1743. Really simple. This is what it's gonna look like exactly on your weapon. So you know, this number minus the blue number directly underneath it, and this white number that's under your DPS minus the blue number that's directly underneath it. Alright, and then what we get is a result of 316 for the min and 585 for the max. Okay, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take those numbers and we're gonna add DPS as if we got the highest possible roll we could get. In this case, it's 1560 and 1940. 1560 min and 1940 max. You could see that again right up here. So the highest min we could get is 1560, and the highest max we could get is 1940. Alright, so now we're going to take 316 plus 1560. This is for the min, and our maximum minimum damage roll is going to be 1878. And this is the number that if you rolled that, it's going to be the white stat. The number right here. In this case, it would be the min. So you could change this 1708 into an 1878. And then we take the 585 and add the maximum roll, which is 1940. And we're going to get 2525. So that's going to be our new average damage. So what we do after that to figure out our DPS is we take the 1878 and add it on to the 2525. So take those two numbers, add them together, and we get 4401. Then we're going to take 4401 and divide it by 2. Really simple. 4401 divided by 2, and we're going to get 2200.5, whatever, 2200.5. And then after that, to find our DPS, we're gonna need to calculate in the attack speed. Now, if you're playing with something like a Furnace, a Mace, Wrath of the Bone King, whatever, it has a 1 attack per second attack speed. So you don't really need to do anything because, you know, the DPS times 1 is just going to be the DPS. But in this case, we have a Mace, and the Mace has 1.2 attacks per second. So what we need to do is take that result that we just calculated and times it by 1.2. So you just times that result by your weapon's attack speed, and we're going to get 2640.6, and this is our result. This is going to be our weapon's new DPS if we rolled the maximum min and maximum max damage bonus rolls. And now in the second option, if we were going to roll the 10% damage on, like I said before, this weapon doesn't have any percent damage on it, so all we have to do is take its DPS as is now, which is 2421.6, and times it by 1.1. I just wrote it as 1.10 to make it easier to understand, but I'm sure you guys know. Whatever. Alright, so 2421.6 times 1.10 equals 2663.76. And this is going to be our option 2 result. Really easy to calculate the 10% damage. Whatever. So it's going to be 2663 point, it would be rounded to 8. So we could just do that, make it a little simpler, whatever. And now these are our 2 results. These are our 2 options. We could try to roll up the average damage and we'll get 2640, or we could roll the 10% damage on and we'll get 2663. So the option of rolling 10% damage is going to get us the higher DPS, right? But also take into consideration that when rolling the 10% damage on, you have to remove a stat. When you re-roll the weapon damage up, you're not removing any stats. So we're going to have to lose 7% CDR in order to get, what, 23 more DPS? In my mind, that's not really worth it. But then again, you're not really, it's going to be more than 23 DPS loss, because the odds of you getting perfect damage rolls is extremely low, but you'll be able to get within 10 to 20, and I just got disconnected, so that's nice. Well, whatever. Perfect timing, right? Perfect timing. So in this case, what I personally would do is I would leave the CDR on and I would roll up the average damage. Let's go back in there and, you know, start rolling a few of the average damage, because I don't really need the Sunkeeper. Yeah, I'm a barb and it rolled with intelligence, but it was like a really good weapon to show an example. So let's take this weapon, let's roll up this average damage. So what are we looking for here? We're looking for the 1940 and the 1560. So anything in 1900 and 1500, preferably 1530 plus and 1900 plus, something like that. It's gonna take a few rolls, don't worry about it too much. Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. Suck it. It sometimes can be a bit of a pain, like I said, to roll that weapon up. But we're already almost at 2600 And we did say 2640 was our maximum potential, right? So as you can see, we're pretty on point. So let's keep re-rolling that. Try to get something a little bit higher. 1895, 1547, and we got a 2605. Now, if we would have rolled the 10% damage on, we'd only have about 60 more DPS than this, and we could still roll higher. Like I said, we could get up to, what was it, a 2640 roll. You know, the more we roll it, the better it's gonna be. I want to get that 1900 roll. Oh, this one's a little bit better. 2614. Not too bad, not too bad. Starting to cost $1 million a roll. Hopefully I don't use up all my mats. There it is. 1916, 1547, 2618. 2618. So we're only 20 DPS, a little more than 20, like 22 DPS off what, you know, the maximum DPS for this weapon could be. So if we were to roll the 10%, we'd have like 40 more DPS. Remember, we could still roll this higher though, so we would have had like, what, like 40 more DPS, but we would have lost 7% cooldown. So in the end, I think that's just the better thing to do, in my opinion. I mean, cooldown is very, very valuable. You're only losing a tiny bit of DPS, and that's it, guys. That's how to calculate your weapon damage and when you're enchanting, so you guys know whether to roll the 10% or to roll up your average damage. So that's it for my video. I hope you found it helpful. If you want, like, subscribe, share. It'd be much appreciated, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Later.